Hi everyone, my name is Grace. I'm with Peaceful Paths in Gainesville, Florida. Peaceful Paths is a domestic violence network and community resource center, as well as a shelter. We help people get out of unhealthy relationships, and I do violence prevention. So I am in charge of reaching out to community members and educating people about healthy relationships and just taking actions to prevent violence early on. I'm super excited to be working with Gainesville Girls Rock Camp for the first time. And today we're going to be talking about media literacy and shining a light on how to stay informed through media. Basically, media literacy is a way to interpret and communicate meaning in media. And it's super important that we become literate in media as our world switches into being a lot more online and digital in order to become active, engaged, and informed digital citizens. There's lots of different forms of media, which might not be accessible to everyone. So media literacy is definitely a privilege, and this gives you a chance to critically interact with what we see online. So it's super important that we are looking at media in a way that we can understand what we're reading, make sure that it's true, checking our resources, and just staying knowledgeable. So it's super important to investigate the source. I know everyone is on their phones all day, on their laptops, iPads, whatever the case might be, but you really got to ask yourself if you're sure what you're reading is actually true. There's a lot of clickbait on the internet, so it's important to check original sources. You can always Google is your friend. Google the topic for yourself to see what else might appear. And social media can be a really great tool to get information, but make sure to just fact check on your own to ensure that the information that you are getting is accurate. So something like, something like Twitter. Twitter can be a great place to get news and stay up to date on social justice things and lots of different things, honestly, but there is no way to check accuracy. So, for example, something relevant is Kanye West running for presidency in 2020. Lots of news about that, but what's actually the truth? And I just included some funny tweets here because I am a big fan of Twitter. Says Kanye won't win. We all know the next president after Trump is Lisa Simpson. Me checking to see if the Simpsons predicted anything about Kanye running for president, and then the White House after Kanye's president filled with Yeezys. So the truth about Kanye West running for president is that a lot of deadlines in many states have already passed in order for him to be appearing on the November ballot. Kanye's name could still be written in on ballots, but again, it's so important to check your information and your sources. The Federal Election Commission database only has one Kanye registered, and they have raised $0. So, and this is from Politico, which is a really good unbiased source of political news. So I recommend to check it out on there. Bottom line, always do your research. Our feeds can be swarmed and flooded and bombarded with false information and half-truths. So try to find some unbiased sources and check from multiple sources. Make sure you're really doing your part. It's also important to identify the targeted audience. So questions like, who created this? Who are they representing? Whose values and stories are being shared? Whose are being left out? What is the message for? What goal is this trying to achieve? All of these are really great questions to identify the targeted audience. So that way you can understand how the message is being used to influence, educate, and communicate to others. It's also really great in helping identify who or what is being left out of the story and for what reason does that serve. So, something might be targeted at teens, but really it's something that might be for an older crowd. For example, when you're doing audience analysis, ask yourself who it's aimed at. So in the advertisement on the right, it's for a JUUL ad and received a lot of backlash because these people were in their 19s, 20s, young 20s, late teens, but their mannerisms, the way they're dressed, the way they're interacting with each other, the colors and everything used, it is very enticing to teenagers. So there's been a lot of criticism, obviously, that comes with that. But if you can look on the right, the advertisement has maybe a male identified person, a woman identified person, making assumptions, of course, we can never know. There's a person of color, they appear maybe heterosexual, cisgendered people, teens, young adults, high schoolers, college students. JUUL is the one who created this, which is a vapor smoking device targeted at young adults. So the values that are being represented is that JUUL, their values, they're trying to sell money, they're trying to make a profit, and they're trying to imprint their message on really impressionable youth, which is definitely not the best. So I want to show a clip if it'll work, hopefully. Okay, let's see. And I want you to think about who's the target audience, how are they being shown, what assumptions or comparisons are being made, who's the company or product, and how does that tie into the message. Let's see if it'll play.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for their daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere. And the tears are filling up their glasses, no expression, no expression. Hide my head, I wanna drown my sorrow, no tomorrow. And I find it kinda funny, find it kinda sad. The dreams in which I'm dying are the best I ever had. I find it hard to tell you, I find it hard to take. When people run in circles, it's a very, very bad world.
Okay, so that advertisement was for a Pantene Woman Empowerment ad. You can tell that the target audience is for women. They are showing women, and they're making comparisons between women and men in the business industry, in the business world. How you saw how a man dressed nice and the compliment was looking sharp, but a woman dressing nice is seen as showing off, and a man making orders is seen as being the boss and being in charge. But when a woman does this, or a woman identified person, then they're being seen as bossy. So it's just going to show you how, you can see these things, but they do give great messages, but you really need to try to dig down deeper and figure out what is really going on. And at the end of the day, Pantene is a women's brand. So, do they include non-binary people in their advertisement? Do they include women from different backgrounds, different diversity, people, trans women, things like that? What could have been better to make it more inclusive? There's lots of persuasive techniques, and we won't get into all of that because that could be a separate discussion, but there's tons of persuasive techniques that are used to reel us in and get messages across, draw in large numbers, and sell things to us. Some of them include testimonials, nostalgia, bribery, warm and fuzzy feelings, flattery, simple solutions, over-exaggerating things a lot. So one example of testimonials is using celebrity or influencers to endorse things, which can influence the ways that we analyze, shop, use, and interact with media. So a great example of this is Kylie Jenner and all the Jenners and Kardashians with the Sugar Bear hair care vitamins. That is something that used to be very popular, and you would see on tons of celebrity Instagrams all the time. Here's just an ad with Sofia Vergara sipping some Pepsi, and an ad with Beyonce for Adidas. So we see these images, and a lot of us look up to these women and these people, and it makes us remember the image and what they're representing, and then you might be more likely to do those same things or same behaviors or purchasing habits. There's another persuasive technique called Bandwagon, which is basically when people just kind of join in and hop in on what others are doing. And it uses that group mentality to make you feel like you need to be doing these things too. So Honey on the right is a shopping app that gives you discounts, and I've been hearing it and seeing it all over everywhere, from podcasts to YouTube to Instagram, ads online. So that one is just blowing up, and I'm seeing it everywhere, Twitter even. The one in the middle is a Maybelline mascara commercial, making a really bold statement: America's favorite mascara. Is it actually though? Is it actually all of America's favorite? Or is that just a really bold statement, you know? And then on the left is the Blackout Tuesday, Black Lives Matter, black screen movement that happened a month or so ago. And I consider this one a bandwagon movement because, yes, although it was a great movement and idea and theory, a lot of individuals definitely just chose to put up a black screen and not really do anything else to follow through with their statements or provide any more information on what they're doing. So just making sure, I mean, and there's even been really big companies that didn't put anything out, or maybe they did, and then they just kind of went back to business as normal the next day. So it can be easy to fall into these trends and into what we see online, but just make sure that you are looking at things with a critical eye. Other techniques include using science and fear. So this is a National Geographic article. It says inflamed brains, toe rashes, and strokes, why COVID-19 future symptoms are only emerging now. That can be really scary. I was scared reading that. So what we read and see online can twist around what science tells us. And although this is National Geographic, I mean, there is definitely a lot of clickbait being used, a lot of scare tactics. So just make sure to look at a variety of reputable sources to figure out the truth. There's also a warm and fuzzy technique, which is using things that make us feel good about what we're reading, viewing, and purchasing in order to persuade us to do what they want us to do. So in this case, it's the Dawn dish soap using really cute little ducks, and they would clean the animals from oil spills. So that's a really great example of the warm and fuzzy techniques and how it can be kind of one-sided too, because there's always more sides to the story. Our next point of media literacy is pinpointing the purpose. So the whole purpose of having social media, articles, tweets, memes, TikToks, the whole point of that is to connect and share and communicate with people and get across some kind of message, whether it's a funny message, serious, a text to your mom saying, hey, can you get toilet paper? Anything as simple as that. There is a reason we use media. So one really important thing when it comes to media literacy is figuring out the stories that are being told. So questions like, what is the dominant story being told? What is the concealed story not being told? What actions are being called upon? Those are all really great things to help your mind focus and just get the gears turning about what message is this really trying to send me. Yeah, when you strip away all the fluff, you really start understanding the purpose or root causes of memes, trends, articles, and advertisements. Yeah. And I think we're wrapping up here, but being literate in media is what allows us to be mindful consumers, aware of what we're seeing, reading, viewing, swiping, sharing, reposting. Media literacy gives us the opportunity to really just dive deeper into the stories being told, and it really encourages us to explore deeper into stories that are not being told as well. And lastly, through media literacy, we can continuously keep growing, educating, connecting in mindful ways that are respectful and thought-provoking. So I think that's all I have for this. Yes. All right. Well, I'm going to stop sharing now, but thank you all so much for having me. My name is Grace. I'm with Peaceful Path. And thank you so much, Gainesville Girls Rock Camp, for having me. It's been a blast, and this is my first time doing anything digital like this. So Please give me any feedback if you liked it, if you didn't like it, anything else that you'd like to see or get from us. Yeah, I had a blast. I hope you learned something, and I hope that you're really using your critical eye to look into what you're seeing online and making sure that what it's saying is true. Yeah, I think that's all I have. Thank you guys so much. Have a great time at camp. Bye.